This LOS is calculate and interpret an updated probability using Bayes' formula. Okay, this LOS is a good example where if you look in the text for the CFA Level 1 curriculum, there's a lot on Bayes' formula in terms of quite a few formulas and calculations. And then if you go down and you look at the end of chapter practice problems, there's not even a multiple choice question. There's an exercise that goes through something that's similar to the example. So that's why the curriculum, you have to go through all the curriculum, but sometimes you have to use a lens or a filter to go through it and see how much time do I spend on certain areas, and how does this get distilled down to a 90-second question that's quite reasonable. So what I'm doing for this LOS is just one slide, and I'm going to give you an example of the calculation. Now this is not a multiple choice question, but we could have an A, B, C here, and you'd have to select the right one. And you can see that it's relative to what's in the text. This can be distilled down to something that's quite easy. Okay, so this example is, what is the probability of an interest rate cut and good earnings? So they give us, again, we're looking at probabilities. There's a 60% probability of an interest rate cut. So therefore, there has to be a 40% probability of no interest rate cut. So we're going to be at 100% there, okay? And then it branches off. If there's an interest rate cut, there's a 70% chance of good earnings. So we've done this before. We've worked our way through these trees, and we say 60% times 70%, that's going to be 0.42, 42%. There's a 42% chance of good earnings. But there's also a chance of good earnings down here if there's no interest rate cut. There's a 40% chance of no interest rate cut. If that happens, there's a 20% chance of good earnings. So 40% times 20% is 8%. So what it's asking, though, what is the probability of an interest rate cut and good earnings? So the probability of good earnings, we can see, is the sum. It's the 50. But the probability of good earnings and an interest rate cut is the 42. So we do the 42 over 50, and we simply get to 84%. Okay? So again, if you go into the text and read through the Bayes formula, I recommend that you do that. But keep in mind, if it becomes a question on the exam, it has to be 90 seconds. So look through the section, look through the example, go through the end of chapter problems. You'll see that there's not a multiple choice question for this, but go through this example and you'll see that it can be distilled down to kind of a fairly easy calculation. And that's all I have for this LOS. Thank you.